The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman.
Malcolm X said those prophetic words 50 years ago. 50 years later, they still hold true in almost every aspect of life for black women. And while America's news cycle remains obsessed with missing white women, WVON is shining the light on our missing and murdered young girls and women in Chicago. Who are they? What happened to them? What are their stories? And why does the media have a double standard for black women who have vanished without a trace? I'm Candace McCollum, and this is The Invisible Ones, when black women go missing. In this series, you'll meet some of the women who are missing or who have been murdered, and we'll talk to their families. We will explore whether Chicago has a serial killer amongst us, and what role sex trafficking may play in their disappearance. And finally, we'll talk about what is being done at the local and federal levels to address this issue. Say their names: Angela Mariana Ford, Charlotte W. Day, Winifred Shines, Saudia Banks, Bessie Scott, Jody Grissom, Latanya Keeler, Lorraine Harris, and Nancy Walker. These are just 10 of 51 black women who have been murdered or who have gone missing in Chicago since 2001. Today, you will hear the story of Nancy Walker. The local media has refused to tell her story, so we will. Nancy Walker was the eldest of 6 sisters. She was born on August 15, 1947 in Birmingham, Alabama, where she attended grammar school before her family moved to Chicago. Growing up, she and her sisters loved to eat cookies and ice cream. In high school, Nancy was captain of her cheerleading squad and later studied jazz and ballet. In college, she majored in accounting and stayed true to her love of dance by opening her own studio in Inglewood, where she taught yoga and jazzercise. Walker, like all missing and murdered black girls and women in Chicago, was loved and cared for deeply by her family and friends. They were devastated when they couldn't find her and began a frantic search for her whereabouts. But when the police stepped in to begin their investigation, there was no urgency to this matter, and it seems it rarely is, when the victim is of color. 7 weeks after Nancy went missing, her body was found, dismembered on the Bishop Ford. She was only 55 years old. Nancy Walker is one of 51 women highlighted in the Unforgotten 51 project, started by Roosevelt University professor John Fountain and his students in 2019.
We must tell our own stories, that it is imperative for us to be the eyes and ears telling the stories from the inside out rather than the outside in, with a perspective that is not jaded in the sense of not understanding the people who live in the communities whose voices are not heard.
Fountain is also a reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times. The purpose of the Unforgotten 51 project is to investigate and humanize those victims whose bodies, who in most cases have been discarded in alleys on the west and south sides like garbage, as if they didn't matter. Black girls and women go missing at higher rates, but that is not reflected in news coverage of missing persons cases locally or nationally. In 2020, 268,884 girls and women were reported missing. And according to the National Crime Information Center, more than 90,000, or nearly 34%, are Black. These startling statistics and the lack of media interest have led to cries of racism and neglect, particularly when it comes to Black girls. Many argue that the stories of our missing don't get the same degree of local, national, and global coverage as white women. Women like Elizabeth Smart, Natalie Holloway, Amy Peterson, and Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old who went missing in August after going on a trip with her boyfriend, remain etched in our psyche. The glaring distinction in coverage is now being described as missing white women syndrome. This term recently made headlines when MSNBC host Joy Reid used it to discuss the Petito case.
But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name: missing white woman syndrome, the term coined by the late and great Gwen Ifill to describe the media and public fascination with missing white women like Laci Peterson or Natalie Holloway, while ignoring cases involving missing people of color.
In 2002, 14-year-old Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped from her home in Salt Lake City, Utah. After an intense search that included relentless media coverage, Smart was rescued by police 9 months later. She is now an analyst for ABC News. Natalie Holloway disappeared in 2005 while on a high school graduation trip in Aruba. The white Alabama teen story drew global media coverage, and although her remains were never found, the media continued intense coverage of her story until she was declared dead in 2010. Today, there is not one missing Black woman or girl who has become a household name because she has vanished. Imagine if Lorraine Harris captured the same local and national media attention as their white female counterparts. We asked Professor Fountain what's behind the disparity between media coverage of white women and Black women who vanish.
Race colors everything in America. And I have said, and I won't apologize for saying, that if these were 51 dogs in the city of Chicago, the city would be up in arms. These are women. This is somebody's sister, somebody's aunt, somebody's mother in some cases, somebody.